All right, so today we're going to talk about adventures and map layers. And we are so grateful that you're spending a little time with us and are part of our data-driven community. Today's agenda is we'll talk a little bit about our format of our meeting, but we're going to feature Lauren Cristaldi, our lead analytics consultant. She is by far next level with design and creative implementation of bringing the very best out of what Tableau has to offer. And she's prepared a full workbook that is also available on Tableau Public, right, Lauren?
Yeah, on my profile.
Yeah. All right, on her profile, adventures and map layers. So if you're interested in recreating these things in your environment, I'd encourage you to look that up, and then also just maybe pursue conversations with her, because she's really got so much to offer to our community. So remember, just a couple of reminders. This is a webinar meeting virtual format. We have made it so that only those who are hosts are sharing their screens. And but if we at the end, when we're having our Q&A, if there's something we can help you share your screen, but that's reserved for hosts, so we'll have to work on that on a special case basis. We definitely have the Q&A for in chat open all the time. We very much welcome your input and your questions and conversations along the way about whether or not you've tried these various techniques or not. All right. There will be a follow-up email that will give you a link to the recording, as well as a feedback survey. Always welcome anything you guys want to know about or you would like for us to use in future meeting formats. Just that's a great place to give us that, have that conversation with us as well. So Lauren, do you want to do a little intro? We don't usually do this, but I'd love it if you tell them a little bit about your background and tell them how you got your start in data, because I feel like some of the restrictions of the resources you had to work with just like compelled you in a direction of creativity that has really paid large benefits as you developed your career.
Yeah, no, that's very accurate. So I started out working for the state of South Carolina, and for all my other state employees, you know that you're limited to what your agency will, or department even, will pay for. So we only had Microsoft Office. I didn't have access to like design tools like I do now, which is why I love to be even more creative, because I have access to all these cool new tools and everything that's out there. So I started out just doing everything in PowerPoint, even making like custom icons and
Wow.
and anyone, I'm sure all of us have used PowerPoint and struggled with PowerPoint. So it taught me a lot of patience also. I think that's why I'm good at containers and Tableau, because I have all that patience, because you have to have patience for containers. But yeah, it's been really fun, and I love looking back at like some of the early stuff I built, because it's so different from where I am now, and it's cool to like see that sort of like progress roadmap, like where I started and where I am, and how much the tool itself has evolved. Like I never would have imagined that we could use map layers, for example, to build a table or KPIs. So.
Right. Yeah, awesome. Yep. And my role here today is to facilitate and make sure things get communicated inside a chat. And I'm seeing that there's folks even starting to say hello. So really glad. If you guys don't mind telling us where you're dialing in from today in chat, that'd be great, just to kind of kick it off. Even Lauren and I are in 2 different states. I'm in Austin, Texas. And Lauren, you're in South Carolina.
Yeah, I'm in
right?
Charleston. Yeah,
Charleston,
I'm on James Island, for anyone that knows Charleston. So
awesome. We got somebody dialing in from Houston. Very good. Breckenridge, Colorado. Okay, Jacob, we may all need to be a little bit jealous. You guys have the leaves changing colors up there. I've had some friends sending me pictures. Awesome. Atlanta, good, awesome. Very good. All right, anybody else care to share? That'd be awesome. We will dive into layers for the win. And Lauren, I'm going to invite you to share your screen, and we will get the party started.
I'm going to turn my camera off while I'm screen sharing, because I have a tendency, even with my new glasses, to like be very close to the screen. So
that makes sense.
Don't want to stare at my forehead. So today I want to walk through my technique for like a couple of different ways to use map layers. This is the main workbook that's on my Tableau Public. You can download it. You can download any of my workbooks, and then, like copy and paste. I'll also show you how to copy and paste into a new workbook if you want to use it with your data. This one is just using Superstore, and a lot of the calculations are just make point, so they're not actually tied to the data itself. So it's really easy just to copy and paste it and then use it with your own data. So there we go. So here's my downloaded workbook. If we go in here, you can see like each of these KPI cards are just one sheet, which I know it's crazy, right? I think that whole dashboard, it only has it has very few sheets for the number of visuals.
Yeah, that's a real game changer with map layers, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And because, the more sheets you have, the less performant your workbook is. And there's a lot of other factors to performance as well, but that's one of the major ones. Is if you have a lot of sheets, then Tableau is trying to load all of that at once, and then, add in filters and everything else, and it can make everything really slow. So with setting this up, if we start over here, we're adding in layers. I made it so that it was a little easier when you're creating a new workbook. Let me actually show you. So I also started making this, and this is also using map layers. My husband and I don't know if anyone else has this like very first world problem, but we have a lot of different streaming services and we're watching a lot of different shows. But we always forget like, oh, what's on tonight? So I wanted to make a TV guide, basically a dashboard to see like, oh, okay, today there's new episodes for this show, and then tomorrow we have this show, and where to watch them. It's mostly Hulu, but yeah, if I wanted to create, let's say, this KPI over in this new workbook, then I can just come to this one. So let's say you have your own workbook open as well as this one downloaded. For that table, you would bring over these, but let's focus on the KPI first. Getting ahead of myself. So I have all of these positions, and then I made it so it's using this metric field for like this area chart. That just makes it a little easier so that you can change just 3 different values instead of a whole bunch. But let's start by copying these. I kind of did that fast. So if you want to select multiple fields, just in case there's some people that don't know this trick, you select one of them and then shift and select the one at the bottom of that like continuous string of fields. Then you copy, you go over to your other workbook, select that drop down caret and paste. And now you have all of those fields from this other workbook available. You can also copy whole sheets, and sometimes that's easier if you don't want to have to recreate all of this. So if I just copy KPI 1, so you right click on the sheet tab, and then I can paste it over here. And now it's brought in that entire sheet for this workbook. Then I can come up here and replace references. And a lot of things are broken just because I don't have, everything from Superstore in this sample TV guide data that I put together. But if you go through and you replace references, and you can remove some fields that just don't apply, depending like on the data that you're using. I think for this exercise though, I just wanted to show that option if you don't want to like recreate all of these layers. But in our case, we can just use these fields that I made. And then you can kind of keep track of how these map layers, like what order we're putting them in.
And you may have already said this and I just may have missed it. Did you show what the calculation is that's underneath like KPI position 0, for example?
Oh yeah, no, not yet.
Okay, good.
Yeah, no, I can. Yeah, let me show those. So most of these, and we can start out with the ones that don't rely on other metrics. Most of these are just going to be points that you're making. So if I bring, actually I can show it on here because it makes a little more sense. If I go to show header on latitude and longitude, and you get this by going up to map and making sure that the background maps is set to none. Otherwise, it won't give you that option to show the header. Now we've converted, geographic latitude, longitude to, it's still geographic technically, but we're plotting it on an X and Y, and we're converting those into decimals. When I first started playing with map layers, I actually got some graph paper and I started like wireframing dashboards, just trying to figure out, okay, what are the min and max of the axis to lay things out a certain way and have the spacing be more dynamic or precise, just to give me an idea of like the first KPI position here. So this is our first one. And if you select any points, it'll take you to the marks card that's controlling it, which is also really nice. So this is that KPI position 0. And I have it set to 0.35, -7.
Yeah, I feel like this is really foundational right here because I think that I've seen a lot of people tell me to make a make 0.0011, but not really shown how that it literally applies against an XY coordinate axis behind it. That's very helpful, Lauren. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, great. Yeah, this one, because I noticed that too, actually, like a lot of the videos I'd watched, they would say like, oh, make this, or they have a workbook that's downloaded, but there's all those little things in the background. Like I couldn't figure out why isn't it showing me the X and Y? Like why are they able to show that header? Like, or it shows that they have it fixed on some level, but they didn't really go through it.
Right.
And then I figured out just by like, I don't know, patience and brute force almost. You have to go through this hidden like
Yeah.
option. I didn't even like, I never knew about the
I
none.
don't even know that that was there a while back. I think that's got to be relatively new because we only used to have we used to have the first 3 and then the next 4 came and our next 3 came and that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
None.
Yeah, because I knew about like the background images. I've used that. Like I have some radar charts on my Tableau Public, and I used a background image for that. But
Right.
yeah, I think you're right. That might be a
Newer, I mean, not necessarily like this year, but newish with map layers because that's a game changer to have this coordinates up and it be so clear that that's where we're placing it on the axis, like a grid. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and depending on the point, because you can really, this could be anything. I mean, you can set it up to where you want it to start here. It's really just so that you can keep track of exact spacing,
Mm-hmm.
because in order to sort of do this without map layers, you'd have to use like the dummy measures. So when we have like min 0, min 0, min 0, min 0,
Right, right.
those all, you have a set amount of space that you can use and they're all distributed evenly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Mm-hmm.
this, I can say, well, I want this to have this much room compared to this that has this much room. It's a lot more flexible. And then I can tell it I want, you know, 0.05 spacing between the very top and the point that's showing first.
Yeah, that's great. Mm-hmm.
And to make sure that our scale doesn't get all crazy. So if we did automatic, things are really spaced out. And depending on what your lowest value to your highest values are for that X and Y, it can get kind of wonky, especially when you go back into the dashboard. Of course, I say that and this doesn't actually look that bad.
Yeah, it resigned just nicely there. So, but that was going to be a question, and I was going to ask anyhow about how does the auto sizing sort out?
Yeah, for the most part, well, like this one, the auto sizing isn't great. Let's see, does this,
Well, I could appreciate that it gets too tiny at some point, right? Because you did say the font size on some of those things, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and especially with creating this
Mm-hmm.
area,
Mm-hmm.
and we're telling it exact points. So it's
Yeah.
not readjusting like a map would zoom in and out.
Mm-hmm.
If we left the map background on there. So let's go back a couple. So if I converted this back to being on the map, yeah, we can see that the sizing gets,
Really tricky, huh?
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to readjust all of those.
Right.
And it still doesn't necessarily fit everything depending on the font size you're using.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This works a little better with like donuts.
Mm.
Celia, I know we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
So we might segue to the donut in a minute here.
Okay.
Try and think of what else would be good to call out, because I know this is a lot of information. I think the best way to learn this and how I went about it, like you don't have to go out and buy a graph paper, but I'm kind of intense, so um, I think like if you download this and then try to bring these calculations into your own workbook
Mm-hmm.
and then just kind of follow along with the order of these. Like I brought these out in the order from bottom to top because as we bring them out, let's say I start over here in this other workbook. Depending on the last one you drag in, that's going to be at the top. And you can always like resort these. So I can move it up or down. But I just find it easier if I'm recreating the same things. I've actually used this on other projects where I've just reused what I've made here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it helps with the order because I like as you're reading it from, and this matters more on the table, but from left to right, top to bottom. So having those in that like same positioning can be helpful. And you can also rename all of these cards. So like here I have it saying trend month labels. So you can rename it here. So it's not just like KPI position 3. So I think overall, like a lot easier to navigate even than when you have like dummy measures up here.
This feels like it's working within the structure of what they recommended or provided for us as opposed to the dummy measures. I'm always nervous that that's going to be like unto a hack that some future release overwrites or doesn't treat the same way, you know?
Oh, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions just before I?
Has anybody tried to use map layers for a KPI card or cards before? Anybody? Is this something you guys might try to do? Gonna add a reaction to your window? You can react or you can chat on this. Very good. Yeah. See you, John. Cool.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Is Sahini good? Great, great. Yeah, I definitely feel like this is a feature rich space that they intended for us to use. And so like way better than using what she was describing as the dummy variables. It's like more elegant, more performant, leaves you with less bulk in your workbooks. Because otherwise each one of these little chunks would be a separated worksheet that we'd be trying to combine into a container. Okay, Lauren.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And even though I love containers, they don't always love me, so I'm happy to avoid using them. So I know this would have to be a nested container where we have, maybe just the sales title,
Right.
the value, all of this.
Mhm.
Like, oh, yeah.
And I feel like containers are way better for distributing evenly, but beyond that, it just gets to be like really precision work otherwise. Because you have like these are like within your KPI card, you've got these nicely appointed spaces for things, but they're not technically distributed evenly, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah, because these are all working with each other to know exactly where to plot. And I have like very, like, I have a lot of control to where I place things.
It's great.
Awesome. Yeah. Um, let's see. Okay, with the table, I actually, and I have it made already in another version of my TV guide. But let's go through, because this one is a little bit trickier. So if we copy all these map layer columns, I'm going to paste it in my other workbook. We see column 5 is angry because we need the time series X and Y. I think it's a little easier to process because I have a lot going on in this workbook, but what's happening with this time series, because this was like the coolest thing that I found. And I gave credit to the original. Yeah, Ellen Blackburn.
Oh,
She
wow.
had,
Okay. Yeah.
I have it linked on my Tableau Public too.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like I took a slightly different approach than her. Like she didn't
Mm-hmm.
have the KPI cards, but she gave me the starting point that I needed to like figure out how to do this time series, which I think is so cool to have that in row. Yeah, if we take the X and Y, and because I don't have those same fields, In my case, order date is going to be air date. And I wanted to make sure to show this just so that everyone has an idea of like what they might need to change. So up here, like most of these are just the make points, like very simple. So you don't need to worry about changing anything for your data going from the Superstore data. But for column 5 in this case, that's where we need this X and Y calc. So we have it fixed. Like in my case, I want to do it on the show name. And then using air date. And let's count the number of episodes. And we'll do that up here too. Oh, and I'm sure some people have noticed I like to organize my fields list by the folder, especially when you're making all of these calculations, because we have different ones for either the KPIs or the columns. Maybe like for the donut, you have something different, or like one of the gauges are a good example too that I have also on my profile using map layers. When you have all of that in the same workbook, it's hard to keep track of like which one should I be using for this certain chart. So I like to create a folder just for specific, like chart specific calculations. So like here, I'll call this map layer table. I think over in my other workbook, I had map layer columns, but just any way to differentiate and group all of those calculated fields together. I can drag those other ones in. So if we're going from the bottom up to the top, we're using the 6.5. Oh, and you'll notice that I don't ever use the text type. And I'll get into that. It's actually like a weirdly valuable difference. So if we just let's keep bringing these in though. There's 6. And then some of these are actually using the same. So like we're layering them. This allows you to layer them on top of each other as well, which is a technique used like for the donut. So these are the same point, but we're layering different chart types on top of it. So we can have that area and then a line that highlights the top of the area, and these different shapes to indicate if like the variances, if it's, trending up or down. Yeah, I think that's the last one with column 5. This will be our area, our line. And our shape. Then the next ones are just the different metrics. So like here we're tracking sales or quantity, sales, and profit, I think. Yeah. And to get these pills, I'm using a custom shape that I made in Figma, but it should inherit from this workbook since they're all packaged. So if you want to use that same custom shape, you can bring the sheet in or work from this workbook that you've downloaded. All right, I'm just changing these to match. I'm going to quickly bring these in just so we can start adding more detail. All right, so now I have everything in the same order that I do over here, left to right, top to bottom. So for the first one, and it's kind of off just because this one is using this custom shape and I wanted it to be like a little, almost like a thumbnail, just kind of denoting that rank and then which region it's in. That doesn't really apply for my shows. So, well, before I do that, let's show the header here, show the header here. So if you show those headers, we can make sure that we're using the same scale. So yeah, 0.01, 1.18, and these values, they just depend on that spacing that you want. They can really be anything, or you can keep them at automatic. Yeah, the actual values aren't like required. They're just aesthetically what I went with. We'll go to our background maps, set that to none. And to start seeing it for individual shows, I'll bring in that show name. And as a bonus, we can have an image URL that I pulled all these from IMDb. We don't really need the show name to have the header because right now we have one of these layers or marks cards. We're going to put that information in. And then we can format it. We have a little more like dynamic formatting. I'm just going to fit the width. And this should be 0.01. And now I can't remember what the other one was. 1.18. Then at the bottom here, we're going to do the same thing with the x-axis. If I compare it against this one, it's negative 7.45. And 2.7. So now this is starting to take shape. I don't need these headers anymore. So yeah, if you right click, sorry, I went through that really fast. if you right click on the axis, you can unselect the show header, or you can come back up to like longitude or latitude, and you can check it or uncheck it from there as well. Of course, I've done this so many times, and I always forget that longitude is the X and latitude is the Y. Even though it's columns and rows, so I should know, but sometimes, you know, you get too into it and then it's just easy to forget those little details.
I don't know about you, but that always feels backwards to me. Is that just me? Or,
Yeah, maybe that's what it, yeah, because I feel like
yeah,
it's really backwards too.
yeah,
So I'm glad I'm
yeah.
not the only one. That actually makes me feel better.
Because I describe that a lot, especially when people are new to Tableau about the column and rows representing X and Y. And invariably, I have to be careful not to be too specific about which is which, because I invariably try to say it wrong. Because it doesn't align with my math background.
Yeah, no, agreed. Because it's like, I don't know why, because I guess it
Just
does make
conceptually.
sense, but
Yeah,
then it doesn't at the same time.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, so we're gonna go through, okay, this first one, so this column 1, which again, you can select any of these points and they'll take you to the appropriate marks card to edit. For this first one, I want to highlight, based on the show, where I can watch it. So I'm going to set the streaming platform on shape, which if you have a dimension, you can go to default properties and you can set the shape here before you bring it in. So that way, every time you bring it into a new sheet, those shapes are already set up there. That's what it will default to, which is nice. It saves a lot of time so that you don't have to constantly be remapping those, or, you know, in case you load another shape into a palette and then you reload the shapes and now all of your, I mean, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes it can get mixed up and it'll choose the wrong ones. So this prevents a lot of that from happening. So I adjusted the size a bit, and you can continue like increasing or decreasing. Now, if I go to this next column, I want to show the show name. And so let's say this is text. The formatting gets kind of tricky. So it's finding the point in the same place, and I can tell it, you know, write a line, but it doesn't go where I actually want it to go, because now it's trying to write a line, but it's not, it's still getting cut off. But if I do the circle and then have it as the label, now I have it middle right. And if it's multiple, so let's say I have show name and then I wrote the show name. So everything is right aligned here, but I really want it to be to the right of this point, but left aligned. If it was set to text, we couldn't do that. But since we have it on the label for that circle, it gives you a lot more flexibility in how you're formatting those strings. Which I don't know if anyone else thinks that that's as cool as I do, but it really satisfies my OCD, so.
No, that is really cool. Well done. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about the like
So
the
tidy.
little wins, right?
Well, they build, they add up.
Oh, and then once I've made that label, or you can do it before it as well. I just changed the opacity on the circle to be 0, and then the label still shows up, but the circle goes away. And then we can keep adding. So I think on the next one, and just for the sake of time, I'll go to my other one where I have it finished. So I want to make sure we cover the donut and touch on this calendar. So this is what it ends up looking like, where I have those same points. I just did a little more formatting. I have it using a calculation to find when the next episode is airing, depending on the current month. Up here, I have a tracker, which these points I don't have included in what I have on Tableau Public, mostly because I'm still trying to iron them out. I got it to work for something else, but the data was formatted in a very specific way. So I'm trying to see how I can make it more flexible. So, sorry. Try to turn those off. So this is technically a progress bar. So like if you have a percentage of days, it uses the date. So if you're doing a scale that's not based on the date, we need to like add some data densification. And with that, I'd have to get into like what I use for the gauge chart. So keep checking my Tableau Public, and I should have a solution for that later. But I was really happy with this progress chart. I mean, like progress bar.
So, and I saw that in a couple of things you've done recently. I think that's fantastic. And the fact that it not only shows what has occurred, but what is remaining, and the math behind that is really nice. And just to follow up on what you just said about data densification, does that have to do with like, we often are working with data sets where there's an occurrence of a transaction. So it's like, those are the dates that are present and we need to fill in all the dates in between. Is that, or
Yeah.
something along
No,
those lines?
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And here I can show it. So I have a table that I made. It takes like in Excel, it's one column for this one, and it just says date, and then it has every date down to the day level from like 2015 through 2050.
Okay.
And I just drag it down. No, that's how I made it. I just Excel like populated all of the future dates.
Got it.
And then I have the relationship so that it's set where, in the flow of these relationships, this one, so like all of the possible dates are first. Then I have that noodle where I'm defining the relationship as the date equals whatever date field is in my data. So this will bring back all of the data. It's not going to have like it's not going to restrict it at all just because every date exists. But yeah, it's filling in those gaps to where maybe a show, like the shows that I have, it's only a handful of dates. So if I go back here, yeah, you can see there's a lot of gray. So if I didn't do that, all of these dates, they wouldn't show up at all. And then our map or the calendar would look really funky. This was actually a method I found from Andy Kriebel. I made some changes like with the progress bar, and then with the different custom shapes behind it. But if you guys haven't seen that, it's really cool. And he has a workbook on Tableau Public, and he also has a YouTube video on it. Because I don't think before, like I had a solution without map layers for this like calendar view before, but it was not
Mhm.
dynamic. It was
Yeah.
hard to maintain.
Yeah.
But
He
these
just
like,
did a master class on this just recently. Yeah. And you can it can set it wide or you can tell it long to go long. It's a game changer on some of that stuff.
yeah, especially with the, yeah, being able to size it how you want
Mhm.
and everything lays out correctly. I know we only have 10 minutes left, so trying to think which workbook would be the best. Yeah, let's do this one. Let's try the donut.
Yes, please. And your donut make
Okay.
point is the 0 to 0, yes?
Yeah, so well with the
Oh, 1
donut,
to
it
1.
doesn't like it can be anything. So you can
Oh,
have it be
gotcha.
0, 0, 1, 1, some like crazy funky 1.35 or something. It only matters that it's exactly the same so that it's centered, and then also you're just layering that same point. So you only have to make one of those.
Okay, gotcha.
So I brought that into the view, and then if I add another layer, now they're both in there. With this one, we want it to be a pie, and then another pie. I've just found that when they're both pies, it's easier to make sure that they're exactly center with each other. I mean, that's what I used to do with, the traditional donut method with the dual axis. So I kept that same practice. I like with the map layers, it really doesn't matter, but it doesn't hurt to have both of them as long as you don't have, anything on color or angle, then it doesn't change anything. Yeah, for this first one, let's make that really big, and we might have to adjust once we get it on the dashboard, but we'll double check that. I'm just going to turn all the background layers off.
And you do it through there, or is there any difference if you do that last option on the right click right there, the map options? If you right click where you're at, do we need to check those off as well or not?
Yeah, you can check those off. Here, what's weird though, is that it makes you do it again on the dashboard. So
Oh,
sometimes,
gotcha. Okay.
yeah, I don't know why it does
So it
that.
doesn't stick. Okay. And you
Yeah,
just unchecked them off of the map background layers over there on the left margin, yes? On your
yes.
panel that you pulled down? Okay. Background
Yeah, the
layers, got it.
background layer.
Okay.
Yeah, in this
Okay.
case, we don't want to turn off the background map.
Oh,
Just 'cause
gotcha.
that takes away the automatic sizing or the dynamic.
Oh, that's probably my problem, by the way, that I was talking to you about. That's probably
Yeah,
exactly it.
I was thinking about that because sometimes
Mhm.
I will turn it off, but
Mhm.
then I also come back in here and I adjust the size, like if I want it to
Mhm.
be very specific. Um, but if you just want to be able to throw it in to a dashboard and maybe it'll change size after you've like added
Other
in more
things.
sheets.
Correct. Yeah.
And we can test, and we'll test this out too.
Okay.
So if I throw in, I'm just gonna use sales. So we want sales on the angle, so just like a regular pie. In the color, we can do, let's just do the region.
And you did a pie on both of them, not a circle on the top?
Yeah, so, and with the map layers method,
Mhm.
that doesn't
Mhm.
matter as much. That's really for,
Okay.
it's just like a holdover from when I was using the old method. Because I noticed like sometimes, wasn't every time, but sometimes it would, if I had a circle on top of a pie, even though it was min 0, the circle would be like slightly off center compared to the pie.
Okay,
And I
interesting.
found, yeah, it
Okay,
was weird because especially like it didn't do it every time.
yeah, it shouldn't
That
be.
made it even more annoying.
Yeah.
Like just be
Okay, that's
consistently
terrifying.
inconsistent. But
Right. Yeah. But as a pie without segments on the any an assignment on the angles, it will give you a solid color, a single color option.
right, exactly. Yeah, and then I
Okay.
can go in here,
Yeah.
have it set.
Very nice.
And then if I wanted, just all sales,
As your KPI on that.
yeah, so there's our total, and then we have all the regional breakdowns.
Yeah, I'd like to put percent of total labels on the outside of a donut like that.
Yeah, in this it should be easier. Let's see.
Yeah, if you just you move it over to onto the label, yeah, and then there you go. Yeah, isn't that nice? So you have the raw number in the middle, and then you have percent of totals on the sides. Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that. Sometimes I'll
Mhm.
do like a side table and it'll
Mm.
say, and it'll have the numbers kind of like
Mhm.
to work as a legend.
That's really good. Yeah, because to be fair, that the whole problem with pie charts and any kind of circle format like that, it's not a precision instrument. So if we're doing a big picture, aha, great. If we're trying to give real numbers out of it, we need a table or supporting resource. It's really smart, Lauren. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of thank you. That was a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, no doubt.
A lot of time because the best practice is to use like if you have I think it's 5 or less categories, so slices,
Mm-hmm.
then you should use a donut or a pie. But
Mm-hmm.
if it's any more than that, so if I was using subcategory on this, it would look insane. And like, how are you gonna get any real
Yeah.
insights from that? I think my favorite use of the donut is actually just tracking like one percentage. So if you're looking at sales for just central compared to all the for like everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
then we would just have, this
Yeah.
blue slice
Yeah,
and
that's way better. Yeah.
yeah, and then break them down that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have something that's an overwhelming minority or majority, like you're showing the contrast between a couple of components. I feel like that's more, definitely more aligned with best practice. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can get better insights from that because I think we all
Mm-hmm.
fall into the trap of like just data overload.
Mm-hmm.
So analysis
Yeah.
paralysis.
Yeah. Well, that's so much better. Yeah, because the dummy variables did not give good sizing.
Yeah, and this one is still like a little bit limited, but for the most part, it'll figure out what to do.
Mm.
Definitely better than the dummy variables.
Mm-hmm. Is there any impact on using the color legend to highlight certain elements? Is that I know you just deleted it, but have you had any
Oh,
success with that? Where you can with the pencil and the shape? Yeah, you can. Good. It's interesting. I've noticed even if you turn off on the last sheet where you were, if you disallow zoom, where it's supposed to like not keep the back in the source sheet, you know how you can go to the map layer and turn off some of the
oh,
anyway,
disable
yeah,
section.
disable selection, and so it doesn't do the slicing, but you can still get to it through the color legend.
Oh yeah, I guess so.
Isn't that funny? Yeah, it somehow doesn't listen. So yeah,
Oh yeah, because like yeah, now I can't
yeah,
select slices,
right,
but
yeah, but yes, you can. Over the side. Yeah, it's interesting to
That's
watch
funny.
this product mature, right?
Oh yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because sometimes, it's Tableau is so smart,
Mhm.
but it has its moments where you're like, you just did this really
Mhm.
complicated thing. Why can't you do something simple?
Mhm. Yeah. So we have a couple minutes left. Do we have any questions from the team that's been hanging out with us here? I'm going to get those over to Lauren. Watch in chat. And if not, I just want to thank you guys for your patience. I did put the link to her example workbook from Tableau Public into the chat. I encourage you to see what you're able to recreate from what she's described and shown today. Map layers are way more efficient, going to perform better in your workbooks, and it's more in line with the development that's happening with the product overall. So it's a really good thing to try to learn how to adapt and implement. So just wish you guys all the best success with that, and let us know if we can help you out. And Lauren, thank you for all of your preparation and for leading the charge today. Really appreciate it. And we'll be back next month with more fun, you guys. And we'll keep you posted on email. Be watching for that link on email, and also the survey to give us some feedback. If you've got a suggestion for a topic you'd like for us to cover, please let us know. Thank you so much. You guys have a good rest of your week.
Yeah,
Thanks,
thank you.
Lauren. Bye, everybody.
Bye.